make this remote and do it virtually for you guys. So let's see. Today's objectives. So hopefully you're going to get a better understanding of all the possibilities of digital print when you are creating in the design phase, and you know the project's going to go digital. You don't just have to settle for that default mode. There are options. So we're hoping you get a better understanding of the materials that are available. We're talking colored and textured. It doesn't just have to be white, but there are some amazing white options along with different finishes and a range of materials from paper to synthetics to pressure sensitive and board, I mean, and beyond. I feel like it's expanding daily. And we're also going to show you some real world examples because honestly, like, the proof is in the print. So we're going to pull back the curtain and show you how we built files, how you can do some of these things to really achieve the kind of results that you envision, especially for designers. And I think sometimes we feel like, oh, digital, that means we're going to give up some of the bells and whistles, but I'm telling you, it has evolved so much. So honestly, there's some great finishing, almost like production finishing techniques that happen, but with all the benefits of short run digital. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Terry.
So I'm just going to talk about some of the basics of digital print because we don't know for sure what everybody's experience has been. And like Jill was saying, digital has come a long way. So I'm just going to do a little overview. I also know there are a lot of printers on the call today. So if you have anything to interject, please feel free. You guys are the experts. So the basics of digital print, what is it? It's a method of printing digital-based image directly to a material. Paper's our favorite. It doesn't require printing plates like offset does and other traditional printing. And it's more efficient because there's no film, there's no plates, there's no color proofing, there's no make ready in order to get up to color. And then there's minimal adjustments if you do have a change. So it's pretty easy to go back to your digital file and be on press again. So Jill?
Yep, sorry.
It's okay. So the types of print technology, there's dry toner, there's liquid toner, and there's inkjet. So the dry toner is a powder-based pigment that is embedded into polymer beads. And then the beads are transferred to drums to the substrate. So equipment like Xerox, iGen, Kodak, Nexpress are examples of that. And then there's liquid toner, which is the HP Indigo. I will tell you that the print set that we sent you guys is on the HP Indigo, but some of the techniques we use can be done on the other types of equipment as well. So just keep that in mind. And then inkjet is the newest technology. I am getting a pop-up, are you?
Nope.
Okay, I can't read it.
Okay.
I'm getting something that's canceling something, but you don't see that.
No.
Okay, well.
I don't know if you guys do. I don't.
I am blocked. Okay, there we go. I got rid of it.
Right.
So let me go back to liquid toner. So, go ahead.
I was going to say inkjet.
Yes, thank you. So inkjet printing uses fine drops of ink that goes directly onto the substrate. Now this is the latest technology, and there is now inkjet that's a little bit larger in size, so the press sheet is larger, and that really does kind of emulate offset printing. So go ahead, Jill. Then short run, no minimums. So here are the benefits. There's no you can do a short run and not feel like you have to have 10,000. You can order as little as 1. I'm sure printers don't recommend that. You're going to be paying for that. But it is kind of nice because you can actually do a proof on the paper that you're using before you do the entire run. So that's kind of a benefit as well. There's less color shift because it isn't like a traditional printing where you can actually adjust color on press. And then 100% black looks more like a rich black. Versioning and personalization, we all love this. Like some of the examples I've seen out there is I have a cat, his name is Seamus, and my veterinary clinic always sends a notice when he's due for his vaccine with a picture of the type of cat that I have, and it's addressed to Seamus. So those types of things are possible with digital and personalization. And then there's an expanded color gamut with the addition of some oranges and blues, and some of the indigo presses can do PMS. Other benefits, what you see is what you get. So the final proof is the product. There are no surprises, and you can do test like we did when we put this piece together that we'll talk about later. So minimal waste and fast turnaround. You're not going to have that extra coming up to speed going through several sheets like you would on a traditional press. And there's no plates required, so the turn time is pretty efficient and quick. So digital versus offset. If the project is on a tight deadline, you might want to go digital. If the finished piece is less than, say, 10,000 pieces. Now, I would say if it was 10,000 of a 64-page book, then your printer might have efficiencies by putting more up on a press. How soon are your updates needed after initial run? So that's a good point. If you think you're going to reprint shortly with some adjustments to the copy, then digital is a great way to go. Are there likely to be changes on the way all the way up to the press run? So when we have those tight lines, sometimes somebody says, oh, we forgot to add this donor to the donor list in the back. So those types of things can be done very efficiently and quickly if you're running on a digital press. If the delivery is less than 48 hours, digital is probably the only way to go. If there is good data on the target audience for personalization. So again, if you are narrowing your demographics, or you're trying to reach out to people who like chocolate cake and you're a bakery, you can grab that data and reach out to those people specifically. Would the piece benefit from full color printing but a small finished quantity? So that would be a good way to go digital.
Thanks, Terry. So this is the portion of the meetup today where if you have the print sample kit, I'm going to ask you to pull it out because you're definitely going to want to follow along. And if yours hasn't arrived yet, you will still be able to follow along with us. But honestly, when we set out to do this whole campaign, Discover the Possibilities of Digital, it really is about inspiring, educating, and then empowering creatives to go out and confidently produce the kind of print that you envision. Here's all too often from creatives like, you know, the idea I had in my head, why did it end up better than the final result? And there's a ton of reasons why, but that's kind of where, honestly, collaboration, whether it's digital, offset, and whatever you do, is going to be so critical to achieving successful results. I'm going to be dead honest, I'm not a designer. So we took this project with the approach of, we wanted to show simple stock photography is what we started with, but in ways that replicate or give us the results of really cool offset print production techniques. Again, Terry mentioned this piece, while we did this first set on the indigo, I want to dispel any preconceived notions that if you have a dry toner press, the toner technology isn't important. The techniques we use are all widely available in our market. We relied on cmyk, white ink, clear transparent ink. There's only one sample in here that's proprietary to the indigo that relies on hexachrome. Everything we're going to show you today, if you have a Xerox, depending upon the printer's capabilities and what they have invested in, these are all widely available across different manufacturers. So I'm going to get into it now. So the container of the piece, I should mention, if it looks a little familiar, we're like many people operating on a budget. We borrowed, Nina has this great resource on their website where they share their packaging die lines. This is the same die line that Nina Explorer kit, if you guys are familiar with it, was in. So we just repurposed it. The packaging is on the classic tech weave in solar white. So inside are the print samples, and I'm going to walk you through how we achieve these results. So this first sample is of some donuts, and I'm hoping you have it in your kit. And really, we chose to do this on the Craft paper stock. This is on Mohawk Via with iTone and a 120-pound cover Craft vellum finish. Craft is a challenge to print on. offset and digitally, when you're doing for color, it can be problematic. Like you may not get the kind of results you're envisioning. So really this, again, came down to working closely with the craftsman at the printer. This particular person, I kind of said, you have carte blanche to kind of do your thing. This is what we want to achieve. So I said, I want the donuts to pop off this craft paper. Think like packaging for a donut shop, a bakery, a cafe. How can we make this come to life? So he suggested we do a couple different things. And I have to tell you, I spent 2 days in there, 2 half days in there, sent in a bunch of paper stocks, and we just tested. We tested, we dialed back things. Honestly, if you were going for, you know, this was an educational piece, we pushed the limits here, but so everything needed to be on point. Our audience is very highly dialed in. So we knew the expectations are probably a little bit higher than, you know, the average consumers might be. So know that everything you're seeing here has been exaggerated. You can dial all these effect backs. So our printer suggested, let's start with a layer of white. So it was 1 click of white underneath the donuts overall. And then we added 4 more clicks of white just on the frosting. If you can see in the layers, it's a little bit darker blue. So that was an additional 4 clicks, followed by 4 color process, and then additional clicks of transparent just on the frosting. And I think we've achieved what we were going for, which is kind of like a spot gloss varnish on the frosting alone to give it a little bit of depth and dimensionality. And really pleased with how this turned out. Again, something we see done often with offset, not so much with digital. So the next piece is of these flowers, the ranunculus. I love this one because I think that if you didn't know that this was not printed on a pink colored stock, and it's not, you'd assume that it was pink, but we really chose to use one of the metallic sheets, Aspire Metallics, in the Bear Grass. We just love the feel of the metallic. And the nice part about using, in this case, the indigo and that liquid toner, when Terry talked about the polymer beads being suspended, it allows for a little bit of translucency. So it acts a little bit more like traditional offset inks. So to achieve these results, we did, again, white ink, which any toner digital press these days has the capability of doing. So we did spot white under just the flowers. Then it was followed by 4 color process. And we just got a really beautiful depth and dimension to it. And that's coming from the metallic, the mica coating of the paper. It's just kind of shining through the toner, just giving it a really pretty, luxurious feel. Pull out the 2.
So there was a question about clicks, so I'm going to answer that.
Yeah.
So what we mean by clicks is it's the amount of density of ink that a printer puts down on the sheet of paper. So it's not going through a press multiple times, like going back through. It's the density of ink that's like 1, 2, 3, 3 layers all at one time. Does that make sense to you, Joan? And maybe there's a better term for that if you're a printer out there. Yeah, that answered her question. That's great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that came up in the first presentation we did. So it's not like it's going through the press 3 times or 4 times. It loads up on the blanket and then that's the way I understand it. So correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So the next sample is of the lizard. And I love this because it's a great side-by-side comparison. So the first one is the lizard just printed 4 color process. No bells or whistles, but we put really careful thought into the material. In this case, we used, again, classic tech weave. It's got this beautiful embossed pattern, and it's kind of like a freebie. We chose the tech weave because we thought that it just gave a real subtle hint or reinforces the texture of the lizard's skin, that scaliness, just with the pattern of the embossed tech weave finish. So it didn't cost anything more to do. There was nothing offline happening, just 4 color process. So a really good use of materials to kind of take your artwork to another level. So think about that when you're working on the process. How can the finish of the paper impact the final results? And then we contrasted that with the same image we really wanted to do something different. And I got to tell you, this was all my printer. Again, the Craftsman. He's like, Jill, I want to try something really cool where we are going to create like a clear foil stamp effect. I was like, what? What? How? So we chose the Carnival Vellum in New Black. So it's this deep, rich black. And we really got a depth by layering black ink. I apologize because I'm used to doing this in person. Black ink behind where the lizard would be. And then we followed that up with transparent ink and the layer with the scales, right? So I'm looking at my notes here. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. But that was it. The black, now granted, we did 6 clicks of transparent ink. Again, this is an educational tool, so we wanted to make sure it was exaggerated. We started with 6 in the test and backed it down to 1. Honestly, we could have been okay in about the 3-click range, but I wanted to make sure it was really apparent. And I think we achieved a really cool clear foil stamp-like effect with digital print. And again, like I've seen this done where we were before COVID, we were testing for Discover Digital 2.0, and I was doing some things on the Xerox Color Press, the Next Press, some stuff with Scodix, and I'm telling you, you guys, the stuff that's available in our market is amazing. And I think this looks really cool. It's like an X-ray effect that I've only seen up until this point done with offset printing. And typically that's white ink or a silver to kind of get that, but we're achieving it here with the transparent ink of the digital technology. Now, this next one, I think it's my favorite, but I say that about a couple ones in here, but I love the Nautilus shell. We knew we were going to do this, and I knew when I saw the image, I'm like, oh, this will look great on the translucent paper. But this is where testing is hugely important. So I'm at my printer, I have him do it, and just 4 color on the translucent I thought would be enough. It looked so flat, I cannot tell you. So Mark said, look, let's do something different. I'm going to put white underneath it, but I'm going to do a gradient of white ink. So you can see in this first layer here, it's darker under the shell by the crevices. So that dark blue represents what the white would be. And then there's the gradation out. That's then followed by the transparent ink in the blue areas. So you see it in the crevices and in the background, and then 4-color process. The depth and dimension of this one just blows me away. The cool part is if you flip it over, you really can see exactly the layers because it's a translucent sheet. I notice it when I look in the crevices, especially I can see how the clear starts out really dark and then it gets lighter. So to me, I was like, oh, I get it, because I was not envisioning it. Like, how is this gradation going to impact it? Am I going to notice it? I just thought it lent a really ethereal effect to the final product. So when we think about things, you know, maybe it's like a high-end invitation, or, you know, and you're doing a vellum or a translucent layer. Vellum is the finish, not the paper. See, it's creeping in on me too, Terry. Or a fly sheet for something, right? Like, you can do that digitally, even if the run is smaller. The ability to be able to use cool materials, different materials, and think about the production capabilities maybe a little bit differently. So again, this was on Glom and Natural for HP Indigo in the 40 pounds. This next image, this is kind of a doozy. So we chose to demonstrate what happens when you put white ink on colored paper stock. Oftentimes, I think we're disappointed with the way digital white ink tends to reproduce. It tends to look a little like, one of my friends calls it bluish or grayish, like it just doesn't look vivid enough. And I wanted to make sure that came across. So underneath all the popsicles, we started with 4 clicks of white under all of them. And then we added on the second row, another, like rows 2, 3, and 4 have 5 clicks. Row 4 has 6 clicks. Oop, that's this layer here. And then row 3, 7 clicks of white ink, followed by 4 color, followed by 3 more clicks of transparent ink. We wanted it to pop off the paper. I would never do this in real life. I don't think any of us really have the budget to do all those things in real life, but what I wanted to show you is the difference. Look at rows 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4. I would be so disappointed if I got print results that looked like white ink up here. These two are passable. And again, we tried this on some darker stocks and we didn't need to go with as many hits of white ink or clicks of white ink. So again, it's just about knowing what are your expectations, what are the best ways to achieve it, and talk to your print rep to make sure it's going to work and the way you envision it. And again, we chose to do this one on the fun cyan in Via just because it kind of matched the fun vibe of the popsicles. This next one happens to be Mandy Hilston's favorite. I'm teasing you, Mandy, if you're on this. So the star of this particular piece isn't necessarily the print going on, although it is kind of cool. So our printer suggested, look, we want to get the shell to pop off the sand. So let's do white underneath the shell. We did 4 clicks of white, again, exaggeration here, followed by 4 color process, and then transparent ink on the water, just so we could get some depth and contrast at the shoreline. And I think we do achieve that. But I'm going to be dead honest. The star of the show, to me, is not necessarily the print, it's the material. So I told you, Mandy can be a little, what's the word? Fussy isn't the right word. Mandy likes what she likes, and I appreciate that because I got opinions too. She saw it, she goes, not my favorite. I go, okay. Because I had the test prints out, I go pick it up. She was like, oh, literally. Because when you feel this sheet, it's like, wait, what's going on here? So this is printed on curious matter. It has this inherent sandpaper-like quality. So we chose it because it does lend itself subtly like, ooh, is that sand that I'm feeling? Beachy image. So again, the texture of the paper just reinforces the artwork that we are featuring on the piece. And the cool part, again, the curious matter, this is in Goya white, 100-pound cover. We stock this on the floor at Millcraft. So totally available. Actually, most of what we're showing you today is stocked on our floor, digital availability, and we'll get to that in a minute. So I just thought that one was kind of cool. This next piece is of the avocado toast. So this is the only example I'm showing you in here that is proprietary to the indigo. However, the same technology or rules would apply whether you're doing dry toner technology that has the capability of maybe it's metallic or a PMS ink. And again, we chose to produce this one on the Sterling Premium Digital, which is a coated sheet. It's a dull finish and 120-pound cover. It's a white shade of paper, right? Like Sterling is a bright white shade. I had no idea. The printer's like, you know what? I want to do a white layer underneath it. I'm like, okay, you know better than I do. I wouldn't think you need to. That was followed up by hexachrome green and the avocado, and you can see that layer here. And 4-color process, right? So here's the straight up image without the hexachrome. Here's what it looks like with the hexachrome green. So you can see the contrast and how the green is just bumped up a little bit. Think of it like a touch plate. So you can do this with a PMS color with dry toner if your printer has that capability. And I just think, again, it's that example of that wider on-press gamut. So think spot colors, hexachrome, think of it, you know, metallics would be used in the same way. There's some capabilities, fluorescence. I'm telling you, what is available today in digital is unbelievable, and it just keeps changing.
Jill, we have a question, and I believe I know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer it. Does the designer create the mask in these examples, or does the printer?
So typically the designer would. I am not a designer, so literally that was part of the service because we were creating this together and my printer knew what would work. And that's where, honestly, I would encourage you, like, this project is probably very different than what would be done in the real world just because it's an educational piece, right? So you would set it up much the same way you would set up your files if you were offset printing, and that you would have it built in the layers. Again, require that conversation with your print rep. They're going to be able to tell you what they need in terms of file management and setup, all of those things. So I hope that answered the question. Okay. So the next image, this one it's just 4-color process on the Classic Crest Bare White. And we wanted to show you just how paper shade, and especially when we're talking whites, can have an impact on the printed image. Not all whites are the same. And this, I don't think I'm exaggerating. Terry, correct me. Would you say that we probably have more than 1,000 different shades of white stocked at Millcraft?
Easily.
Right? Some will be a little bit warmer, some will be cooler, some might look more gray, but it's really important when, especially when you're doing, you know, production level printing, right? Like it is going to be, you know, maybe it's used in packaging or print, or like print communication, like magazine, ads, beauty, cosmetic, an annual report. So when we're talking about artwork that is maybe more on the softer shade, like pastels, warmer tones, flesh tones, that warmer shade of white can really enhance the images. So if this was done on a blue-white shade, I think you'd get a very different feel to it. And again, this is just to highlight paper shade, paper color, and how it can impact the overall image, the final look of the piece.
So Jill, we have another question I think we should answer.
Yeah.
It's from Judy. Let me go back. It was a good question, so I can't find, oh, there. Does the designer need to do something with the artwork to indicate the white clicks or transparent layers? And what I'm going to say to you is, just like you would a fifth color or a spot color, I think you need to tell them what you want to achieve. And then depending on their equipment, they will know like how many clicks of white or transparency, or they might do a test for you to see if it's achieving what you wish.
Yeah.
Just like on a dark paper, you might have 4 or 5 clicks of white to get the white that you want. I'm sorry, Jill, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's it. I know, like, I've worked on offset jobs with white ink, right? And we've done like 2 or 3 hits to get the desired result. I know on some of these, again, because I had my printer set up the artwork on this because they were producing it, but we worked hand in hand as he was building the files. And in design, you know, it was like white 1, white 2, white 3. So I honestly, have that conversation with your printer. Like, I think this is the really scary part. I love the way that technology has transformed our life, but I also think it has been a big impediment, and especially when we're talking about creating beautiful print and designing for print, there is, I think, a real disservice that happens when you create two-dimensionally. You never touch the materials until after the piece is produced. I love all the printers that we work with, but I'm going to tell creatives out there, take control of the process and make selecting paper part of that design process. Go analog, start with paper first. If for nothing else, it will inspire, it will make you think differently about the design that you're working with and the effects that you want to recreate, and what that final result, the feeling that you're trying to evoke with it. I'm not saying not to take guidance from your printer. Hopefully you're working with a Millcraft paper rep, whether that's Terry, Kelly, any of the CSG members, your Millcraft account managers. This is what we do. We are, as Candace says, paper dorks, but we really are. We are paper nerds in this sense, and we love to do it all day long. So we'll help guide you to those materials that we know would really work well with what you're trying to achieve, and your print reps will too. So have those conversations. So this next image, again, this was all my printer. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I want to have some fun with this. I just knew I loved the image of the spiral staircase, okay? And I said, I think this would look cool on a metallic sheet. I'm not sure. So we tried a couple different shades. And in the end, we settled on the Aspire Metallics in gold ore, and it's 105-pound cover. But what I think is really cool is this was all done in one pass. So first we set up a layer of white underneath the 4-color process. And again, he said, I want to do this as a gradient, kind of playing up the spiral effect of the design. So we start with, in the blue areas, 100% white here, and with a gradation following that spiral, again in reverse at the top, and then underneath the railing. That was followed by 4-color process. And then the same layer that we did in white, but now in the transparent ink layer. So the final result, I think, is unbelievable. I love, again, how the metallic finish of the paper kind of comes through. I love the way the stair rail pops. To me, that totally looks like a spot gloss varnish. I was like, that's really cool. doing it here in a Zoom meetup doesn't no justice. So hopefully you're looking at this in your samples. It's definitely worth a close examination. And I just think in general, the use of the material, the gold paper, the techniques, it completely enhances and really just gives the gold embellishments of the image itself. It almost makes it feel gilded. Just really kind of cool effect happening there. The image of the parrot, we just kept this simple. It's 4-color process. But again, this is one where the texture and the color of the paper kind of enhance what's going on here. We chose to produce this one on Mohawk Superfine in the eggshell finish. And mainly because when you feel this eggshell finish, it just lends this really soft, feathery feel, kind of enhancing the feathers of the parrot and the vibrant colors that are in the artwork here. So it is ultra white shades, super bright. Ink is just going to pop off the paper, whether that's digital or not. The contrast, it just looks really, really good. So again, a thoughtful use of material as it relates to the artwork or what we were trying to accomplish with the printed piece. Okay, this next image, this was a Cleveland account manager favorite, I have to say. And again, I'm big into getting buy-in from the team because I know I have certain things. I told you I was opinionated. I have certain things I like, but I'm never quite sure how it's going to play out. Typically, when we see automotive images produced, they are usually done very high-end, premium coated papers, oftentimes printed on a UV press, maybe with spot UV or spot gloss offline varnishes. We wanted to see, could we recreate some of those effects digitally? How could we do it? So we chose to produce this on Productolith points, which is a board grade. And I'm not going to lie, this is why it's a Cleveland account manager favorite. They look at this, every single one of them was like, this is Productolith? So Verso, if you're attending, like, yes, seriously, the account managers are like, oh my God, this looks so good. And again, we're typically used to seeing this done on very high-end coated uber glossy papers. I think we recreated that effect with digital by choosing Productolith. Let's just say it's a little more budget friendly. And we were still able to kind of get really similar results of offset. So we did a layer of white underneath the Vespa itself, followed by 4-color process, and then again, transparent on top of that. And I really noticed the difference when I looked down in the chrome and in the wheels and even on the paint. I just think that we were able to effectively replicate what's done with an offline spot gloss varnish via digital print, which is kind of amazing to me when I think about things. But again, just it's something to think about as we come out of this crisis. And I think as people begin to print and advertise, when we talk about direct mail, you really want to maximize the effects that you're getting. I think digital is going to be, as people are trying to figure out and maybe iterate, quantities might be smaller. So the things you're seeing here today, hopefully will help inspire you to think about how you can use these moving forward and as we recover from this crisis. The next image, much like the spiral staircase, we used white and transparent ink to really lend some depth and dimension to this piece of the cliffs. We chose to produce it on Aspire Metallics and silver ore, and we did a gradation again. So a gradation of white ink behind the clouds, 100% at the top, gradually going down to 0. 100% white ink underneath the surf along the shoreline. We followed that up with 4-color process, and then a layer of transparent ink on the water for more contrast and depth. And I really think that it looks beautiful. Again, I notice it a lot, that white ink. And 2, you've got the combination of the metallic coming through again. So the metallic paper, I notice it definitely in the cliffs. It just lends a little more, I don't know, what's the word, luminosity maybe between the water, the surf, and the cliffs. I just think it looks super cool. Really like this one. And then our final print example, we chose just to keep it simple with 4-color process. Such vivid imagery didn't require a whole lot of bells and whistles. But we did give consideration to the materials in this. So we chose to produce this on classic stipple. And if you're familiar with the piece, the name sounds exactly like what it is. It has a stipple-like finish on the paper. And so we felt that that finish really reinforced the ruggedness of the canyon. The solar white is a super bright white shade, so it worked really well with the vibrant colors going on in the canyon here. So those are the print samples. I don't know if there were any more questions before I want to just touch on the digital substrate guide, but if there are any more production-y questions, and I can't see the chat box right now, Terry, and I don't know why, but.
I don't know why either, but I think I've answered everything so far in the chat room. So if anybody has any and wants to unmute themselves, this would be a good time to speak up.
Yeah, I would say as much as you can. Feel free to fire away. So I will tell you, I just did this presentation. We can keep going and answer. Pardon me? Nobody? Okay. I did this presentation yesterday with a commercial printer for their customers. We had about 10 people on the call, a Zoom meeting, and it was really cool because we had different conversations. I think people were thinking a little bit differently, and a mix of some packaging projects, some higher ed clients were there. Everybody prints digitally, and honestly, when I think about the capabilities that are available locally in our footprint, where Millcraft is, so, you know, all of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Northern Kentucky, you guys, we have great resources at our fingertips for you printers out there. We have a printer capability survey, and one of the things that our CSG team gets asked all the time, and Terry, you could probably speak to this better than I can, is we get asked by designers, hey, can you recommend somebody that has this capability? So we'd love to help connect our commercial printers with designers looking for those unique capabilities. So we will send, when we send the recording of this, the link to the survey. If you haven't already done it, we'd love it if you'd fill it out. Before COVID hit, we were working with making that tool available on the website. So it's been on pause at the moment, but we will be resuming it. So we definitely want to make sure if you have these capabilities or any other really cool, unique digital capabilities, we want to help get that out there. Digital embellishments are hot. They're not going away. It's the largest growth segment in terms of commercial print, and I don't see that changing. So with that being said, this is the empowerment part of the presentation. So hopefully we inspired you by showing you some cool effects with widely available capabilities, and by showing you how we set up the files, give you a little insight into how to think about doing it. This part is how to actually do it without getting frustrated. And maybe it's more of a love letter to printers, but really we wanted to make it super simple for you guys to find what you want, because there's nothing more frustrating than having your heart or your client's heart set on paper and then finding out like, oh yeah. Now you can't say because it's not stocked, when we're talking about digital, that's irrelevant. I'm going to be dead honest with you. We order from our suppliers daily. I would tell you at most, maybe 3 days, and that's for, I would say that's for more of a tertiary supplier, but we stock an awful lot of digital materials on our floor from, again, papers, synthetics, pressure sensitive. So this digital substrate guide, even if you don't understand all the nuances of the paper language, and believe me, it took me about 2 years to finally understand the lingo of paper, because you know, it does have its own language. We've got a table of contents set up in the beginning, and it's broken down by paper category. Coated papers, uncoated papers, WTC, which stands for writing, text, and cover. And that's like your premium uncoated, so colored and textured papers, specialty digital substrates, so think synthetics, some pre-converted products, and then pressure sensitive digital papers. So think adhesive stickers for designers. That's what pressure sensitive means. So I think printers will probably appreciate this a little more than designers, but both can benefit. In the digital substrate guide, this is everything Millcraft can get, and honestly it's probably obsolete since we've printed it because we've added so much more. The mills are always coming out with new substrates, But I would tell you, if you don't have one, you definitely want to get one from your Millcraft rep. It'll make your life super simple. So we've set it up by the category and then alphabetical by grade. So here I just opened to the first one in the coded section. It's Blazer Digital. We have the Millcraft item number. So if you're ordering paper online, this is really helpful. If it's in stock, the item code is bold-faced. If it's a non-stock item, you'll see it as, you know, a regular, and I guess not bold. We've also included the supplier code next to it. If it doesn't have an item code, that just means we have yet to set up that code in our system. And I'm not exaggerating when I say we have probably 50,000 different SKUs, and I think I may be underestimating that. Next to it is your basis weight, so 70-pound text, 80-pound cover, that kind of thing. Caliper, which is the thickness. GSM, which is the most important attribute, I would say, when we're talking about digital printing. For designers out there that don't know, grams per square meter, and really the OEM kind of defines what they will guarantee in terms of the substrate. It has to fall within a certain range of GSM. So we have clearly identified it here based on the mill specs. So for printers, it's a very easy at a glance look. And then sheet size, how it's packaged, cartons or skids. In some cases, it may be in packages. If we sell it by the package, we note it. So, and then how it's packed. 1,300, or that's 1,800 sheets per carton. If there is, I want to see if I can find a package in here. Of course I can't right now. Okay, here we go. On some Cougar, it's 1,600 sheets per carton. It's packed 200 sheets per pack. That means if you see a quantity under the pack, we sell it by the package. So you can buy it by the package. And then dry toner or liquid toner. We indicate if there's a dot underneath it, whether it's suitable for what toner technology type. And you can see all that right here. See, I am used to doing this in person. So we hope that this has made it easier for you to find what's available, to understand how to access it. Again, if it's stock, that means it's next day delivery on the Millcraft truck to the printer. And if it's not, it's usually just like 2, maybe 3 days, depending upon when the pool truck, the order's placed and the pool truck arrives. But we have so many different digital materials available. I am telling you, I don't understand why anybody would settle for mediocre. Really don't get it. So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us. I know that we do these every week and the topics are ranging, they're all over the place, but I just wanted to refresh everybody and kind of just share with you some things that maybe you forgot about, but that we have. So when I mentioned CSG, it's our Corporate Solutions Group team. We work with a ton of creatives, end users, people creating print, and really their expertise, I'm telling you, they will save you a lot of time and headache when it comes to designing and producing print. Call on them. They will be a great resource. Learn with Millcraft is kind of our hashtag. And pre-COVID, we did a lot of events that were Learn with Millcraft events. This was one of them, and we've just pivoted for this particular era we're in. But know that we are available to do this with you. If you would like to do this presentation for clients virtually, definitely reach out to your Millcraft rep. You can email us at justask@millcraft.com. We'll be happy to accommodate you. Again, we've got tons of samples and materials that we can arm you with. And really, we're just dedicated to learning and to sharing all the innovations happening in our industry. It's really hard to keep up with everything. We know that. So we've got 4 email marketing newsletters, one that goes out weekly, the in-stock brand, along with the meetups that are happening every week. And then on our website, if you go to millcraft.com under resources, you'll find our blog where we're always sharing something new and different, maybe some customer profiles, some case studies, different trends that are happening. And then these are all the different ways in which we're expanding. We are in our 100th year, which seems crazy, but it's true. 100th year, 4th generation of ownership, family ownership, and really we have a vast amount of materials and products to offer. So you've known us for paper. We got our start as a wedding invitation supplier. Strathmore was our first line ever. We still carry it today. But I'm so excited when I think about all the ways in which Millcraft has expanded its portfolio. So you may not know we do craft beverage solutions for the craft beer industry and beyond. Wide format is just exploding like it is. We have an amazing team with a depth of knowledge that is crazy in the wide format arena. We not only sell the materials for the inks as well as the cmyk equipment. And I would tell you, we have a state-of-the-art demo center down in Columbus that hopefully we'll be able to be back into soon, and it's definitely worth checking out if you are considering jumping into the wide format arena. We have a new packaging group and an entire solutions. We'll be launching a new website to support that soon. But again, everything from plastic pouches to compostable packaging and everything in between. And then recently, personal protective equipment. If you go to millcraft.com, I think right now it's probably on our slider image on the homepage, but we're doing a lot in that space. And honestly, that's one of the strengths of being a local merchant. We're here to serve the communities that we work in. What is more important right now than keeping everybody safe and protected? So we made the decision. We have an extensive, I would say our purchasing department is unbelievable, and our supply chain. And we have, it's global, honestly, domestic, overseas. So we are able to work these products into our supply chain. We have PPE in stock on our floor. I know it's been a challenge to try to find the different things that you need. So I would encourage you, if you're looking for that, you definitely want to go to millcraft.com and check that out. And then again, near and dear to my heart, it's a full service design center. So we are staffed and we'll do everything from mock-ups and comps. When we get back to being in the offices again, we have teams in to do little small group sessions, some lunch and learn events. Again, you can see our library of swatch books, flat samples. You can order samples online at millcraft.com. And I think that is it.